everyone, welcome back to another episode of Base Coat Basics. We are here in the booth at Createx Colors, and we are going to talk about spraying fluorescent colors and a couple little tips and tricks that we have to make spraying those a little bit easier, something that you guys might not know about. Right here we have this hood, and this is my second coat of our AutoBorne Sealer Orange. We're going to spray, for this video, we're going to spray our fluorescent orange, our wicked fluorescent orange. So we're going to color key our ground coat for the fluorescent with the corresponding sealer color. What that's going to do is going to help keep the vibrance of that color when the fluorescent starts to fade. As you know, whether it's solvent-based or water-based, all fluorescents they're susceptible to fading. So what happens is when you see fluorescents that you say they turn white, what you're seeing is the undercoat. You're seeing that white base through the fluorescent as that paint starts to break down and lose that color. So it's really not turning white, you're actually seeing the white through it. So if you color key your base, as that pigment starts to degrade, the orange that's underneath, in this case, is going to show through, so it won't look as bad. It won't have that chalky appearance. So that was our second coat of sealer right here. What I did was I taped this off in 3 sections. We're going to leave this white, so that's just sealer white. That's the sealer orange. And then the third panel, what we're going to do is talk about mixing your corresponding sealer with your fluorescent at 1:1. So we're going to take 1 part fluorescent orange and mix it with 1 part sealer. And that's going to actually give you a little more vibrance and really help in terms of that color fade if it ever does start to fade. So we're going to let that dry up. I'm going to pop this off and I'm going to show you guys how to mix our sealer and our fluorescent. Okay, so I have my sealer orange, and like I said, we're going to mix it 1:1 with, in this case, the wicked fluorescent orange. So whatever color you're going with, that's the corresponding sealer color. So I got about 2 ounces here. You don't have to be exact. 1:1 is a good point though. So I'm going to go right about another 2 ounces with my fluorescent orange and mix that up. I already had that reduced 10% with our 4011, so I might just add a splash. Just because I only added 2 ounces, it's not that much, so literally 2 ounces of reduction, that's about 10% right there. It's not that much, so just for argument's sake, I'll use that. We'll mix this up. We'll get it on the gun, and I will put it on the panel. Okay guys, we're back. Our last coat of sealer is dry. You guys can see everything's untaped. You can see the difference here. We have our 1:1 mix. That was the last color that I sprayed. That was 1 part orange, sealer orange, and 1 part wicked fluorescent orange. This was just sealer alone, sealer orange, and this is our sealer white. So I'm going to go ahead and mix my color. I'm going to spray over all 3 of these so you guys can see the value change as well. I'm going to mix this pretty standard. We're going to go 10-20% of our 40-50. We like the 40-50 for the fluorescent purpose as well because the 40-50 actually has a light stabilizer. So that's also going to help kind of fight off those tendencies for it to fade. So the only time we wouldn't recommend that is if you guys are doing something maybe for black light. So if you guys are doing an effect under black light, we don't recommend because it'll actually diminish that effect. So we would recommend the 40-30. But other than that, we're going to use our 40-50. Like I said, we're going to go right around 10%, 10 to 20% 40-50. And then just about a splash of reducer, about 10% reducer to that. That's it. So I'm going to get this mixed and we're going to spray. Okay guys, we're ready to go. This is going to be 3 coats to get coverage. This is coat number 1. I'm using the same gun, the W400, the LV WBX air cap. So I'm right around 18 PSI. So this is coat number 1. Hey guys, we are back. We're done spraying. Our panel is dry, and we're going to give you a quick recap over what we did. So visually, I don't know if you guys can see the difference, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. This first section, if you remember, that was over white. That was our fluorescent orange over AutoBorne Sealer white. This middle section here is our fluorescent orange over AutoBorne orange. And the last section, right about here, is the fluorescent orange and AutoBorne orange mixed 1-to-1. Now, between the first and the last panel, the color is very similar in terms of the vivid fluorescent color. It's very bright and it's very vivid. Over the Sealer orange, it is a little bit darker in terms of the hue, that shade, because the orange is a little bit darker than the fluorescent. So, not necessarily a bad thing, but we do have two benefits of that. These two panels, coverage was a lot better. I was 2 coats over these two, and I was pretty happy with the saturation, whereas my second coat over the white, it still lacked a little bit of vibrancy. By the time I put that third coat on, it was great. The only difference now is over white, when this color does start to fade, you're going to start to get it a little bit of a pastel look to it. It's going to look washed out in terms of color because you have white underneath it. Now these two, especially the last one with that 1-to-1 mix, as that color starts to fade, you still have a bright, vibrant orange underneath that's going to kind of mask that fading. It's not going to look as severe and as drastic, you know, if it weathers and starts to fade. So that's kind of the added benefit of mixing that ground coat in terms of just kind of a safety net, you know, when that color starts to go away. So hopefully you guys kind of took something away from this and learned a little technique that we like. So that wraps it up. Thanks for checking us out. We'll see you next time.